Yeah, great.
I don't know if the issue fixed with the Shaikha. Can you now share the screen?
Yes, hopefully.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Perfect.
So the floor is yours.
Thank you. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I apologize about that quick glitch. Perfect. All right. So just a quick intro. I am Shaikha. I'm originally from Kuwait, but I am, I call myself a global citizen. I travel the world looking for health problems and health solutions. And since 2 years ago, I started my newest venture in healthcare, and I worked in healthcare for 10 years. And that is a solution for what we call the aging population problem. And for anybody who doesn't know, aging populations is one of the biggest challenges of the 21st century. And I love comparing it to global warming, to world poverty. And this is with, conviction from the United Nations, saying that this problem is as huge as all these other challenges that take a lot more space in the media than global agents for some reason. So I always love to talk about like this problem and just bring it, make a point that this is next to these big issues as well in the 21st century. So my talk is going to be basically about the journey that I've started since 2018. I had the privilege and honor to run this venture in the MIT ecosystem. And before I get into the details, I just want to say, like, I'm gonna talk about my journey and talk about the lessons and the challenges that I faced and how the MIT ecosystem helped me in an amazing way. And I hope that gives perspective as to what entrepreneurship is like from where us entrepreneurs stand. So before we begin, I like to share 2 sources. This is a book called The Disciplined Entrepreneurship. It's written by the chair of the Martin Trust Center of Entrepreneurship at MIT. And this was my rubric when I first started. So I'm very grateful for the book. And it has shown me a way to overcome challenges. The second resource is Y Combinator. Maybe some of us know this institute, some of us don't. It is the mastermind behind, one of the biggest tech entrepreneurship examples in the world. And I'm talking about Dropbox, DoorDash, Airbnb, Reddit. It's crazy how much this institute has contributed. So basically, the journey that I've been through showed me that entrepreneurship is like a series of this graph, pretty much. You go in, with uninformed optimism, you're naive and you're full of energy, and then you learn that these problems are bigger than you thought at first, and then you take a dip, and I think this is where the ecosystem plays the biggest role, preventing you from crashing and burning. You definitely need a support system, and I've seen that in a lot of ventures. I think a support system, an ecosystem that is robust, prevents from crashing and burning. Basically, it's key. I cannot overstate this. When I started this journey, I was overblown by the support of entrepreneurship that we got at first. I did not set out to start out in Boston or the US for that matter. It was a funny story of me looking for the solution for the aging problem everywhere, honestly. I mean, I participated in what they call hackathons, like quick sessions where we pitch out solutions, and we get quick feedback over the period of like 3 days over a weekend. So I was not serious about, starting out in Boston or in anywhere else, honestly. I was just looking for a solution wherever it would engulf me. And I was surprised of the support that we got at something called MIT Hacking Medicine. It was a quick session that I participated in. And I was very, very shocked when we got 2 awards for this. It was an easy solution to develop, honestly. I was surprised from the feedback that we got from the judging panel there. We got 2 awards, and one hospital right then and there came to us and said, come and, let us execute this in our hospital, come and make it happen, which is insane. I worked in healthcare for 10 years. Nobody has ever, especially in healthcare, we're talking about healthcare here, archaic. Nobody in healthcare comes to a group of young entrepreneurs with a lot of passion and a lot of like belief and discipline and say, come and apply. In healthcare, again, so that was the factor that made me go, okay, I spoke with more of the MIT ecosystem and I found even more support. And I said, this is where I'm planting this solution because of this insane support that I got. So that was like a very good invitation for me as a creative solution to base that venture in the ecosystem. So I call that the honeymoon phase. That was like the fun phase. You have a problem, you research it, you pitch it, you get awards, fancy and all that. But then the first problem hit me in the face immediately. I mean, within like the first month, and that is overwhelm. I was very shocked, and I had this amazing opportunity. We had this opportunity to partner with the hospital, this amazing validation from one of the biggest institutes, academic institutes. And I remember, having a meeting with someone, labeled as the post-hackathon mentor. So they mentor you after, if you want to take the venture seriously after you pitch it. And I said, I want to do this full time. This is what I was looking, this is what I was looking for, traveling the world. I was traveling the world looking for a solution for this problem. And I found it. And I found a place that is engulfing me. And I remember that meeting very, very well. I mean, that meeting like changed the the course of my, the way I was going to do this. So I remember my questions, and this is what was going on in my mind, basically. I mean, do you go with legal? Do you hire lawyers? Do you raise funding? Do you put a name on the venture? Do you develop the tech stack? What do you start with? You don't have a team. You don't have anything, pretty much. And I think that's something that a lot of ecosystems overlook. There's a lot of
Shaikha?
نعم.
Enlarge the screen. Can you enlarge the screen?
Of course.
Yes, they asked me, please.
Is that better?
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
So it's a lot of overwhelm, and I was lucky to have that meeting at the right time with the post-hack mentor, because this is when he said, forget everything that you're saying, forget all of that. It's none of that, actually. Your next step is not supposed to be any of that. And this is when he handed me again that book. And he said, there is like a roadmap. It's basically like the game of the snakes and ladders, pretty much. And he said, it's as simple as that. And he said, the first thing you should do is forget all of that and just talk to users. And I've never heard that advice before anywhere. I mean, I've been doing entrepreneurship a lot, and I've been doing a lot of healthcare, and we did innovate, and we did a lot of things in healthcare before this. But for some reason, nobody tells you that. So what he said was basically, it doesn't matter what your advisors think. It doesn't matter what even you think. What matters is what your users think. And that's what you should pay attention to. Again, I never heard that advice before, but it was golden. And I said, what does that mean? What does that mean? What do I do? Do you develop things? Do you talk to people? And he said, no, you don't develop anything. All you do is interviews. That's your job. I was like, really? That's it? And so he said, yes. So he gave me a quota, and he said, here, you have something like, 50 interviews per week. Just go and find them and talk to them. And, and that was a very good seed, because then I went, to bed that night, and I was developing the list of questions that I was going to ask. And that changes the way you look at the product. That changes the way you approach even people. What I discovered later was that I'm going to share about the challenges. I hope we have time. But the challenges actually told me not only how to talk to users, but also it tells you about the channels that you're going to use to eventually advertise and acquire them later on. So it was a very informative, it was a basic step, but it was with a lot of hidden benefits. That was the first challenge. The second challenge is, what I like to call the silly fails. Here I had these awards, I had this recognition, and I've never worked in the US before. And I was new to the culture. I was new to the way things were done. I didn't know that you couldn't just call hospitals and say, "Hi, do you have patients to recommend that I talk to?" To my disappointment, I was rejected. It didn't matter that I had a credibility, or like I was like a hackathon winner. What does that mean? It didn't matter that you had that. It didn't matter that you were honest and you really wanted to contribute to the cause. It didn't matter. And so I had to spend the first 3 painful months of my venture being rejected by support group leaders, by hospitals. It was a very painful experience, honestly. It taught me a lot, but it was a silly fail. It took a long time. I felt useless. All my all my experience in healthcare, and I thought I was smart enough. I'm supposed to be able to do this. I couldn't even get people to talk to for 3 months. And I love this photo. I was so desperate. I actually walked around Boston and Cambridge, putting out these posters saying, "Hi, are you do you have a home care problem? Do you deal with dementia and Alzheimer's? Come on, talk to me." And even that wasn't really it didn't give me a lot of feedback. It didn't give me a lot of good results. So that was like a very good lesson. But again, remember that graph of like being optimistic and then being pessimistic and going like about to crash and burn. This is where the ecosystem comes in, because if I was not in a good ecosystem, I think I would have quit, and I would have thought something is wrong here. Maybe I'm not working on the right thing. Maybe I'm not the right person for it. And again, once again, the ecosystem engulfed me. I was able to apply to another program at MIT with the National Science Foundation. And when that started, wow, I mean, the answer that I was looking for 3 months was just right there. And I took it and I ran with it. And lo and behold, 2 years later, here we are, we're alive, and we got over that, the first bump. And so again, silly fails, I think are okay. And I needed someone to tell me that. Maybe if I was in a different ecosystem, in a different environment, maybe an advisor would have told me, you're not doing the right thing, or like you're not the right person for it. Change your project, or change what you're doing, or and I think that's like it was golden to me. It was very, very important. Again, that curve. All right. The next. So normalize the journey. Basically, when somebody fails in the ecosystem, I think it's important for us to say it's okay. You can. There's more. Why did you fail? There's more. You can try more. And I think that is very, very rare to find around the world, honestly. Okay. The third challenge is, after all this, I did the interviews and we had a lot of information, bagged that is golden, that you couldn't find anywhere published. Honestly, we had a lot of good information directly from our users. And I thought, okay, fine. So we should be ready now to hire a developer, create the tech stack, and have this grand launch, basically work a lot. And I did that. We worked for like 4 weeks. I created a team. And we put a lot of effort into it, and it turns out that there's no such thing as a grand launch. You don't do that. You start out by recruiting users one by one. And I love this example of asking, do you remember when Twitter launched? Like, did you hear about like this big event when Twitter launched, or like when Google launched? It doesn't matter. The big launch does not exist. By launch, what we should know is that it should be from just like having 1 or 2 users per week. And I'm talking about that small scale. And I think I also needed to hear that somewhere for me to have faith in what I'm doing and push forward. Because we don't have time, I know. Just very quickly, I just want to say, entrepreneurship is a lonely journey. It doesn't matter if you have a co-founder. Sure. It's my final point. So it is a lonely journey, and I think being able to talk to advisors, friends, family, even people who might not know much about what you're doing. I think just the talking therapy is important to get your thoughts cleared. And I used that technique when I was getting one, I was a finalist in one of the awards that I was applying to. And they asked me, what are you doing? What is aging populations? And what are you, they didn't understand. And my heart sunk at the time because I knew I wasn't the problem. And I didn't know that the United Nations and the WHO actually talked about aging populations at the time. I just lived in the problem. I didn't know that it was recognized. And so I had a conversation of like 2 weeks long. And that conversation was when I realized, hey, aging populations is as big as global warming and as big as world poverty. That was just a small example of how talking through with parents, with friends, with family helped out. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Shaikha. Very interesting, very interesting. But it's just like a personal question. Is like aging. Is it an issue in Kuwait or in the GCC countries? Because I know that it's very issue like in Japan, Korea, the aging issue. But I don't know if you went to Japan and did interviewed with some people there, because I think it's really an issue for them, and there are a lot of studies in the literature about this.
Yes, it is a problem in the first world countries right now. It's gonna come to Kuwait. It's gonna come to the Middle East in 20 years' time, in 20, 30 years, like 2050, which is cool. So it is a global problem.
Yeah, that's true. And now I think our third speaker is North, Dr. North. She's here. Dr. Ahnadi, do you know if Dr. North she's here or not?
Yes, she's here.
Just
she's here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a moment.
So Dr. North, she is an assistant professor in College of Science and Technology at Kuwait University.